At this hour, there are hundreds of thousands of people here in Tiananmen Square, perhaps as many as 500,000, even more. In the history of communist China, there has never been anything like this. For the first time in huge numbers, the ordinary men and women of Beijing, the old and the young, professors and taxi drivers, have joined the student protests, lending their support to what has now taken on all the appearances of a peaceful popular uprising against the oppressiveness of communist rule, a campaign for China's renewal in an atmosphere of freedom and democracy. The 3,000 student hunger strikers remain at the core of the protest, hoping that this protest will produce results, that the government will respond to the students' demand for meaningful dialogue and begin to implement the kind of genuine reforms as opposed to cosmetic reforms that the students want. Entire society turning against its rulers, but doing so in a peaceful manner.
The noise of gunfire rose from all over the center of Peking. It was unremitting. And then, as troop lorries were seen moving down the road, there was gunfire from those lorries.
The troops have been firing indiscriminately, but still, there are thousands of people on the streets who will not move back.
There was confusion and despair among those who could hardly credit that their own army was firing wildly at them. Casualties were arriving every few seconds, on bikes, rickshaws, park benches, carried in. There was not one voice on the streets which did not express despair and rage. Tell the world, they said to us.
By early July, 30,000 of the king's troops are taking positions around Paris. To defend themselves, the people form a new National Guard. Rioters raid Paris's armories and make away with over 28,000 muskets. The only thing missing is gunpowder, and the people know just where to get it. In the center of Paris, there looms a massive stone dungeon, notorious as a symbol of feudal rule, the Bastille. The prison houses the city's stores of gunpowder and is legendary as a den of torture and unspeakable deaths. On July 14th, crowds band together identifying themselves with a small cockade, red and blue for the colors of Paris, separated by white, the color of the House of Bourbon. The tricolor is born. From the feverish crowd, a voice cries out, "To the Bastille." At the sight of the approaching mob, the governor of the Bastille, Bernard de Launay, attempts to lock down the prison. He mounts a hopeless defense, and the marauders storm the fortress and tear into the guards with knives and pikes. Finally, Delaunay surrenders.
Wycliffe was a professor here at Oxford. He was recognized as the greatest philosopher of the 14th century. His teachings and his recovery of the Bible for the ordinary people unleashed a movement that simply could not be stopped.
In the year 1365, Pope Urban V demanded that England submit entirely to the authority of the Church of Rome, which would be an admission that the Pope was the legitimate sovereign of England.
It wasn't only the faith of the peasants that had become distorted. The clergy was often even more corrupt. Leaders in the church typically advanced not because of their faith and devotion, but through political influence.
John Wycliffe was strenuous in his opposition to the Church of Rome exercising authority over the British crown. Add to that the various things that he taught that collided with the doctrines of the Catholic Church, and Wycliffe became to be viewed as more than a thorn in the flesh of the Church of Rome. By the time he became the rector of the church in Lutterworth, Wycliffe was considered to be a heretic, which was not surprising. After all, Wycliffe had begun to teach that the Pope of Rome was the Antichrist of the Bible. He even claimed the Pope was the man of sin in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. Things have changed a little since John Wycliffe came here to petition Parliament to remove all the wealth of the church and bring it under the power of the crown. From this now very historic building, John Wycliffe ministered to the world. His influence was felt, obviously, here in England, but it was Wycliffe's ideas that influenced another great early reformer, John Huss.